Greetings, everyone. This is Seth Williams from the REtipster blog and the REtipster podcast, and I'm pretty lucky today because I have a good friend of mine, Danny Johnson, on the line here. Danny, how you doing?
Great. How you doing, Seth?
I'm doing good. So I've known of Danny for a number of years now. I first learned about him through his blog, flippingjunkie.com. Back when I started my blog, he was like one of these guys I looked up to because he just wrote really well, and it was genuinely helpful stuff, and he had tons of activity. Lots of people leaving comments and sharing his stuff, and I was just like, man, I want to be like that guy. That's kind of where I want to go. I was lucky enough to get connected with Danny a few years back when he started a company called Propeller, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in this conversation too. But Danny, I know some people watching and listening probably know who you are, but for people who do not know you, why don't you just quick give us your backstory? What do you do in real estate? How long have you been doing it? What's your area of expertise?
Sure. So it's kind of funny hearing you say that because I remember at the beginning of doing Flipping Junkie, as a blog for probably 6 months or more, and it was like no traffic. And I was just wondering, like, do people even care about what I'm writing? And there's like nobody. And it's like, should I even keep doing it? Right. So it's kind of funny to hear that, somebody saying like, oh man, it was like all this stuff was happening. And I think that did start to happen, once I started posting what we were actually doing day to day in the business instead of just like, here are things to bring to a house when you go to inspect it, like flashlights and stuff like that. But so that's, it's funny to think back about that. I mean, I think that was like 2010.
Okay.
Was when I started blogging that. But
you didn't come onto my radar until it was about 2013-ish, I think. That was kind of like my first full year doing it, and I started paying attention to people around then. So you must have sort of been up and running for a fair amount by that time.
Yeah, it's like you can see why most people give up on that, right? Like I'm sure you probably took a while to get some traction too for yourself.
Yeah. It is not easy, man. You got to love it, or you're never going to survive, because it is very trying in the beginning when nobody seems to care and nobody's responding, and it's like, man, what a waste of time. But if you like it and if you're doing good work, it'll pick up steam in time.
Yeah, I think that's what's awesome, right? Because then it weeds out the people that aren't doing it to really truly help people, right? Yeah. Like you're really putting out good stuff and just keep doing it just because you love to help. So
absolutely.
And you've got one of the best. I absolutely mean that 100%. I'm always impressed. And I've actually contacted you about working with me on mine before. Yeah. Because you do such a good job. I was man, I wish you could help me with mine, but we're all doing our own thing. But back to the beginning of flipping. So I was a software developer, and my father had started flipping houses. And he was working with a guy that he used to be a contractor for, doing the fix-up on the houses for that investor. And, started partnering with him and doing deals. And I saw how much fun they were having. And at the time, I was working in this SCIF, for defense contractor. So I had like a top secret clearance, and I had to go in a room with no natural light, no windows, and, couldn't have a cell phone or anything like that. And I just was being driven crazy because the people that I worked with in that room, I loved the people, but they played the, the Proclaimers, I Would Walk 5,000 Miles.
Oh, my word.
It seems like that album was on repeat for months. Yeah, it's enough to drive you crazy with like the fake light. And then that song, like you hear it once, it's like, it's kind of catchy, but when you hear it 1,000 times, you start to go crazy. Right. So, I saw how much fun my dad was having. I was like, wow, I really want to do that too. It's just, it's so much fun. It looks like he's just doing so well now. And so I started learning from him, and the person that he was working with was our mentor. And we were doing that part-time for 2 to 3 years, my wife and I. So on weekends and evenings. And it never felt like work. You feel exhausted from work and you come home and you're like, I don't have the energy to do anything else. Mm-hmm. But when you're getting into the investing business, if you truly love it and aren't doing it just solely for the money, which a lot of people get into it for the money, but if you find that you absolutely love it, it won't feel like work. Mm-hmm. And it never did at the beginning and getting in and putting in that time. So fast forward, we've now been flipping houses for 15 years, believe it or not, in San Antonio. And like you said, I had started a software company called Freedom Driven, and that's because I had been developing software within our business and wanted to provide that for other real estate investors. And so we came out with Propeller real estate investor websites in 2014, and have a CRM system on the way and an existing one that we're replacing. But being that I'm spending so much time now on building that software, Melissa, my wife, has been taking over a lot more and running the flipping business. And so she's been doing that and been doing awesome at it and been growing it way more than I did even when we were just working together, because she's focused on that. I'm focused on the software. And we help each other. We have 2 suites side by side.
Cool.
And so it's a lot of fun because the software team interacts with the flipping team because they're our customer. You know what I mean? It's a fun kind of dynamic that happens here. So it's really cool. And it's truly blessed by everything that has happened for us with flipping. It's really changed our lives, and hope to change other people's lives with the software and the blog and podcast and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So what's that like working with your spouse? Are you guys doing like lots of stuff throughout the day, or is it just kind of like occasional sporadic, hey, can you help me with this?
It's been so much more sporadic now, and we've built up a team, and she's built it even further to manage all of that. And it's been forever since I had to go on an appointment, and thank God for it, because after a while, after you go to over that many years, probably over 1,000+ appointments, it gets to be a little bit hard to keep doing that same thing when you're driven to do a bunch of new things. But so we it's more on specific situations that come up that maybe haven't been dealt with before. But she's been so awesome about systematizing the business and the processes, and we focus a lot on working on our businesses instead of in them. So the goal is to always be doing the things that remove us more and more.
I don't know exactly how San Antonio weathered the economic recession from like '08 to 14, that time frame. I know Michigan was hit very, very hard, and it was pretty miserable around here for several years. But given the ups and downs you've seen over 15 years, do you think it's because I actually long for the days sometimes where properties were so incredibly cheap, like you could just buy anything for less than half of what you could get it for today.
Yeah.
Do you prefer the slow economic times, or do you prefer sort of how it is now, where everything is really hot and sells quick?
I honestly prefer it the way it is now.
Okay.
I do, and right, it's the trade-off, isn't it? Though, whenever it's easier to buy good deals, it's harder to then sell them or profit from them, unless you have the capital to do long-term strategies. Yeah. And that makes more sense at that point. But when people, like what happened then, in hindsight, when where the bottom was, from hindsight, it doesn't seem so scary, right? It's like, well, why didn't people just buy up everything? Well, it's because nobody knew how far it would go down. Yeah,
that's for sure.
And how long it would take to go back up. Because like what a lot of people in California, I don't know if Michigan was the same, but I had a buddy that had a condo in San Diego that just this year finally got to the point where he was above water. So it was finally worth more than what he paid for it way back then. Mm-hmm. And it took him that long. Yeah. Yeah. But we didn't have it as bad here. But again, like nobody really knew how far it was going to go down. Mm-hmm. And so and I remember, our mentor and the people that we looked up to, telling me, Danny, there's no shame in getting a job again. Mm-hmm. It was like, yeah, maybe there's no shame in it, but I can't do it now. Yeah. Like I can't go back to a job after I've been in this business.
You drank the Kool-Aid, and you know what it's like. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. And that's a unique background as somebody who has been so entrenched in the real estate investing business and in software. Like that's actually it's a really nice combination of things to know how to do. Sort of like, there's lots of people out there who have all the experience in the world, but they're just not that good of a teacher. So like it's sort of like they could be super effective at teaching, but they're just not good at that. Or some people are great teachers, but they don't have any experience. So it's kind of nice to have a mashup of two really helpful things like that. And sort of what I wanted to talk about in this conversation was the website thing, because I know that's, a serious area of expertise for you. I mean, you run a company that does real estate investing, websites specifically. Mm-hmm. I use your websites on my selling side. I have been for years, and it's been working really, really well. And I just want to kind of hit some things and get your input on this.
Yeah, for sure.
So in terms of standard real estate investor website, whether the purpose is to buy real estate or sell real estate, what do you think every effective site needs to have? Like, what should it not be missing?
Yeah, for sure. And it's important to point out that we, over time, have moved to where, our best leads and deals come from our website. And they're the cheapest cost per lead, cost per deal, and produce better ones because of the fact that the people are looking for us. Yeah. They're searching Google for somebody to solve their problem instead of, the opposite of where you're doing marketing, hoping to reach the needle in the haystack, the person that might need you. And so it's a little bit different. And it's been awesome that way. And that same shift had to happen when we started in this business. And I won't spend a lot of time on this, but we first started with how I think a lot of people do, where they look for listed properties to buy investments. Mm-hmm. Right? So they're looking at houses flipped, so they're going to the MLS, or they're asking their realtor, send me some properties that need work. And man, that was hard. Yeah. That was very hard. Mm-hmm. And, we quickly realized that we needed to market directly to people that own homes, that have situations that make it to where they would like to sell quickly. Mm-hmm. And you might think that immediately, well, you're probably dealing with people facing foreclosure. And it's kind of weird that that's a small percentage of who we talk to. Mm-hmm. It's other people that inherit a property. It needs a ton of work. They have no use for it. Yeah. That's usually the majority of the case, where people are just, they don't have the actual sweat equity, or not sweat equity, but just the time involved in paying off a house over 30 years. They kind of got it quickly, and they're not as concerned with how much they make on selling the house as it is on how easy it is to sell the house. And so that's what I love about online, is it's, you're attracting the people looking to sell the house quickly. And in order to do that, you've got to consider who the motivated seller is and what they're looking for, right? And after having gone on so many thousands of appointments, talking with motivated sellers, you kind of get an idea of what they're looking for. And when they show you the stack of direct mail and ask them why they contacted you instead of all the other people in the stack, you tend to get information, right, about what's working and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. And, the biggest part, I think, is the personable part of it. And what I mean by that is you can be very professional on your website as you can in direct mail. And that's great to an extent, but I think a lot of people facing these situations or wanting to sell quickly, and sometimes they don't even want their neighbors to know that they're selling the house and stuff like that, if they're facing some kind of situation that they're maybe embarrassed about. And so whenever they're going online and they're looking for somebody, I think a lot of times they want to know who it is, because you can go to a website, and just because the website looks great, if you don't know who is behind that website or who you're going to be dealing with or what the company is like or anything like that, it's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be really more difficult. Mm-hmm. And we found that by being personable, by having a real picture of us, not some professional, standing there in a suit holding a notebook or something. Yeah. It's more of just a personable, like, we're just like you. We understand you. We're just like you. We're a family business. And you just show that you're a friendly person. Yeah. It tends to do a lot better for you.
Yeah, I can totally see that working.
Yeah. And so having an effective website means, number one, I always stress that first. Don't go with the whole super professional, we're a big company, or, this or that. Make it about who you are and why you're, working to help people sell their properties quickly. And so in addition to that, you could have different things like a Better Business Bureau logo. Mm-hmm. And you got to pay for that. Obviously, you can't just steal the logo and put it on there. You want to actually be accredited, an accredited business. And that I avoided for a while because I'm a cheapskate. Mm-hmm. But we started doing that, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And we still have people telling us the reason why they called us was because of the Better Business Bureau.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah, because one concern is like, who is this person? And the next one is, am I going to get taken advantage of because I don't understand real estate? Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you understand that a lot of the people that you're buying houses from aren't real estate agents, experts, maybe they've never sold a house before in their life. Mm-hmm. That's one concern, is like, is this person trustworthy? Okay, mm-hmm. So Better Business Bureau logo. Testimonials, obviously. And this is one that newer investors struggle with because they say, well, how am I going to get one? I've never bought a house before. I don't have a testimonial. And what you do is you contact colleagues and people that you work with. If you have a title company you're working with, a closer, an attorney, a real estate agent, have them give you a testimonial. And the testimonial can speak to your character and how you run your business, and just be completely honest and get those. And those truly help. And if you can, get those testimonials, but have them leave them on Facebook or Google. And the way to do that is to have a Google My Business set up, which is free. You can create that listing, and then the Facebook business page. And so if you can get those reviews there, have them put them there, and then just use them on your website as well.
Yeah, I bet you there's a whole science behind like that reputation management online, that kind of thing.
Oh, it's like huge.
Yeah, I mean, there's always people, searching for your name or your company or things you do in your area, and it's like if you just kind of let the internet do what it's going to do. I mean, who knows what'll show up there? But if you really like intentionally plan it out, like I think I heard when you Google a person's name, like pretty much across the board, the first thing that always shows up is a LinkedIn profile. So it's like. At least this was the case like 2 or 3 years ago. So,
No, that's probably still.
like if you don't have one, then make one, and you can control the first thing that people see when they Google your name. So, I'm sure the same thing applies to your website, and if you want to make a YouTube channel. I mean, there's all kinds of propaganda, so to speak, you can put together and kind of control the perception that people are going to see about you. And those are great ways to do that, as far as like being just a normal, down-to-earth, personable business, and having that BBB logo. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and some people feel like setting up those things is a lot of work, and it's really not. And it's one of those things that you set up and you work at getting testimonials and reviews on, and it goes a long way, and it pays. It's an asset, right? It's an asset that's going to produce for you for a long time to come. And it's super important. So the other thing on a website, to make it high converting, which means that when you have traffic, when you have people coming to your website, a conversion is when they call you or they submit their information through the form. So they become a lead, right? So because if they just come to your website and leave without doing anything, contacting you, the website didn't convert them. You don't even know that they were there, likely. And so having a high converting website is very important. And one of the ways to do that, in addition to all the things that we just mentioned, was having a very clear call to action on the website right when they get there, which is above the fold. So when you go to a website, the first thing that you see without scrolling is called above the fold, and it comes from terminology from newspapers. The fold in the newspaper, people see what's on the front but not on the back because it's below the fold. And so having that clear call to action, be very specific, because when somebody lands on your page, the attention span of people, and they're looking for what is this all about, you need to tell them what it's all about and what you want them to do to get the result that they want. And so just something even as simple as, we buy houses in San Antonio, all cash, get a cash offer within 24 hours or something like that, so that they know immediately. If you have some random thing about, we've been in business 22 years, well, that doesn't matter to a lot of people, and it doesn't tell them what you've been in business doing. And so it just needs to be simple and to the point. And a good friend of mine, sent me a book that helps tremendously with clarifying that message. I think his name was Seth. Yeah, it was you. It
was probably me, yeah.
You sent me the Story Brand book, and thank you so much for doing that. That was so awesome, and I enjoyed going through that and honing my message. It was really a big help. Cool. And then having your phone number. So I don't know how many websites I go to, and people, you have to dig and dig and dig to find a way to contact the person that runs the website. And with this, you really want them to call you over submitting the form. And the reason is, what happens when somebody goes to a website and they submit the form, the likely next thing that they do is go back to the results and go to the next website. And submit the form. And so if you can get them to call you, you can start the conversation, and you can set up an appointment with them so that they feel like they've done what they set out to do, and they're so much less likely to go to your competitor or the next person on there. So definitely have your phone number visible and in multiple places with a call to action to call you. Not just put the phone number, put like for faster service or something to entice them to pick up the phone.
Now, along those lines, so if you're going to encourage people to call you, how important is it that you are there answering that phone when people call? Like, can you
Oh,
have
absolutely. It's very, very, very important. And if you can't do it, having a service, an answering service, do that for you. But you're not going to get a flood of calls from having a website that's a newer website. And even when you do a lot of marketing, unless you're doing a ton of direct mail, tens of thousands of pieces, you just don't get a lot of calls.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you need a full-time person for. If you've got even a family member that can take calls for you or something, just to set the appointment, and then you can figure out whether it's worth going to the appointment and then cancel if you need to, just telling them, sorry, there's no way for us to be able to buy this house, and I don't want to waste your time. But it's very important to get that appointment set so they feel like they've now got the next step to go to, which is, let me clean up a little bit and be expecting them for when they come on their appointment.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this is all sort of, everything you're telling me here, I assume you're talking about like house flippers and house wholesalers, right? Is that kind of like your core audience with this stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty competitive realm, right? Like that's part of why you're saying like you need to have them call you, you need to answer the phone, you need to like be there and ready to act, because if you don't, like somebody else is probably going to get that deal, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the way it is for any if you're doing any other kind of marketing for motivated sellers. I mean, that's huge. It never ceases to amaze me when you talk to a seller that says, I called like 6 people and you were the only one that called me back, or you were the only one that picked up.
Yeah.
And so what you think is your competition isn't as savvy or as good as you think they are,
Yeah.
a lot of times. And it's funny because, well, not funny, but, investors spend from, like $50 per lead up to as much as $500 a lead on certain marketing channels. And to miss the call that could be the home run deal that pays for your marketing for 6 months.
Yeah.
That's the way I always looked at it. If I don't pick up this call, what if it's that home run deal and my competitor's going to get the $100,000 profit deal because he picked up and I didn't?
Yeah. I'm curious, what role does direct mail play in conjunction with your website? Or like what role do you think it should play? Because I know some people have like a direct mail only approach. Like they just send it out, there's a phone number, call me. Like there is no website involved. Other people do like website only and they don't do direct mail. Do you sort of like, on your direct mail piece, do you say, hey, visit my website? Or how do those things play together?
We do. We have visit the website, and we actually got a separate domain name for direct mail that then forwards to a page on our website so that we can track which ones came to the website, but from the direct mail. And it's amazing how many people are doing that. They go to the website because they want to find out more, right? A lot of people don't just want to call a stranger from a postcard.
Yeah.
Unless they're super, super motivated.
Yeah.
And I think even if you don't include your domain name, that people are still looking for your phone number, they're looking for your name, your company name, they're doing the research on you because it's so easy to do now.
Yeah.
And they want to know, is this like a credible thing?
Yeah. And on like a buying website where the purpose is to collect information or say, hey, let me buy your property, that kind of thing. Do people come to your website and then like submit their information and then you call them back? Or like what percentage of people would you say go to your website and choose that channel versus just calling you cold from the postcard?
So we don't send out that much direct mail anymore. And we actually turned off all of our direct mail except for probate mailings.
Sure.
Because the results were just abysmal with the direct mail.
Yeah.
And I don't actually have numbers in front of me from what the number of people that would call versus go into the website. But I would say it's probably about a third to a half would actually go to the website.
Okay. I think if I remember right, with the buying website templates that you've got on Lead Propeller, is it like a 2-step submission form where like they start by entering in their name and basic details and they submit it and then they actually fill out? So it's not like one massive form they have to do before they hit submit. Yeah. It's sort of a walking through a process type thing.
Right. So it's like a low commitment. So you want to have a low commitment, because obviously if they didn't feel like calling you, they're not going to want to do a bunch, like fill out a personal information and send it off to you to somebody they don't even know. So you just ask for their name, their address, their phone number, and then their email address if you want.
Okay.
And then they submit that, and then they fill out the longer form after that. And so you've got their contact info. So if they don't fill out the longer form because they feel it's like, I don't want to give that information away, to somebody that I don't know, you still can call them because you got their phone number. And I had tested, before on several websites, if I only have the email address and I don't ask for a phone number, will I get more leads? Thinking maybe people don't want to give their phone number. And you hear that you'll get a higher conversion rate with the less fields that you have on your form. And I tested that, and it was a big mistake. And the big mistake was I didn't have their phone number. I think I had and it wasn't even that many more people that submitted. But the problem was I wasn't able to get a hold of those people after they submitted because I didn't have a phone number. And so likely what happened was they went to the next person's website after they submitted the form on mine, and I'm sending emails that they might not ever get buried in their inbox and all that kind of stuff. And they've already talked to another investor that set an appointment. And so I absolutely will never, ever have my first form not have the phone number again, because you have to be able to contact them right away. And it's the same reason why from the get-go, we put the automated texting into our forms. So whenever a seller submits a form, they say, I'm Susie, seller. I've got a house at 123 Main Street. Here's my phone number, and then they go to the next form. After a short delay of like 30 seconds, they will get a text that says, hey, this is Danny from Danny West Houses, and I got your info about the house at 123 Main Street. I'll give you a call in a minute or shortly or something. And then they're still filling out the second form, and I call them as soon as I get the text that the website sends to me saying, hey, they submitted this form. Here's the name, here's the address, here's the phone number, and I can click on my text and call directly and start talking to them.
Okay.
And so you're not, if you just have a form that's sending you an email, you might not get that notification of the email for an hour or 2 hours or something like that, and you try to call them and they've already talked to like 3 or 4 other people.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to be able to call them.
It kind of makes me think because you've got separate websites that function specifically for the purpose of building a buyer's list, right? Which are really cool. I mean, there's like a landing page, and then it shows like examples of deals available in the past and that kind of thing. When you're collecting this information, what are you collecting exactly? Is it first name, last name, email, phone, or is it just the email, or what goes into that?
We're collecting their name, their phone number, and their email. And before it was just the email, but since there's the tools out there for the mass texting and all that kind of stuff, we found that we get a lot better response from the buyer's list when we have that information. So we ask for the name, phone number, and then email, and then the second form after that asks for criteria. And then our dispositions person on the team actually follows up and calls to get more information and just to kind of build a little bit of rapport too.
With that buyer's list, once you have that information, like in your house flipping business, for example, like let's say you have a new deal that you're getting ready to sell. Are you emailing everybody and texting everybody, or like what's your standard process for letting people know about that?
Yeah, and that's the dispositions. And I'm a little bit removed from their exact process at this point, but they're doing a lot of that. They're doing the email blast, the text blast, and putting it up on the website. And we also have push notifications built into the wholesale website templates. So when people visit the website, they can opt into push notifications. So when you create that listing, you can then send a push notification to their browser if they're on, and it'll tell them there's a new deal, and then they can click on that.
Okay, yeah.
And I think most of the deals get sold just from the texts and the those things right there.
Yeah, that's all of your buyers, are they all like from San Antonio? Like they're not all over the place?
Oh, I'm sure we have people from other places that buy in San Antonio, but yeah, we're just focused on San Antonio as far as properties go.
Okay, cool. Man, that sounds. I mean, it's probably relatively easy today anyway to sell stuff, but man, when you have the power to just like click a few buttons and find buyers in minutes like that, that's it's really big. If you're wholesaling, and I think everybody ought to be wholesaling right now. It's just the way the market is.
When you have people paying, investors paying top dollar, you can make, what you would make spending the time to fix it up and selling it retail just from wholesaling. You don't have to do any of the work.
Yeah.
Maybe not all markets, but I would say most markets probably have the capacity to be able to allow you to do that.
Mm-hmm. And you can basically do that just by becoming an expert at finding deals. So
Right.
you don't necessarily have to have the cash to buy them or anything, but you just have to find the deals and then find the buyers and put people together. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, video. How important is video? Not only like on your website as a way of introducing people to yourself and that kind of thing, but also like in a property listing. I know Lead Propeller has, placeholders where you can put videos, which I appreciate. I know a lot of listing websites like Craigslist, for example, you can't do that. And it's not that it's like a must, but like it's nice to have that option if you want to utilize that. I'm just, in your own personal opinion, like how important is video on websites?
Well, I think it's very, very important. Testimonials, having video testimonials, like you can't fake those. And I never recommend faking any kind of testimonial, but whenever people see a real testimonial, they can imagine. I had a buddy that was kind of maybe ribbing me a little bit, but it was like, hey, yeah, like all those fake testimonials on your website. And it was like, every one of those is real. And I have the signed thing where they signed that I could use it as a testimonial. And he was like, oh, I thought they were actually fake. It's like, no, those are all real testimonials. But having, and then, if an investor would think that they were fake, like, maybe some other people, but anyway, they work really well. But if you can have a picture of the person that left the testimonial or the video, like you can't fake the videos. Like a video is a good thing to do really quickly, even from a cell phone these days, high quality video. You can get like an $8 lapel mic that plugs into your phone for good quality audio, and then upload it to YouTube. And then, on the disposition side, when you're selling properties, we used to upload all the pictures, right, and send pictures, but now it's just a video. Just watch the video, and you can, the 3D cameras don't cost very much anymore either. Where people can actually like click and see 360 view of the entire place. Yeah. It's amazing.
Do you guys use that in your house?
We were. I don't know if they still are, but I know that they were for a while.
Yeah.
So have you used one?
I've not done the 360 camera thing, no. I can see, I know there's different companies out there. One of them is called Matterport that does, it's basically like Google Street View, but you get these shots in a house and it's basically like you're walking through. It's pretty cool technology. I don't know if it's like available in an easy to use format yet or anything like that, but
yeah, I think on YouTube, I think if you upload, you can upload, and then when you're watching, you can click around and drag.
Yeah, they kind of just follow wherever you're walking throughout the property, but people can like look in any direction, and yeah, it's really cool what you can do now. I should probably start doing that. It would just be interesting, even with the vacant land properties. I don't usually physically go to them anymore, but I can't imagine it's that hard to find somebody who has one of those and then to do that. I don't know. I guess I'll have to look into that. But.
Yeah, and really, if you've got a certain location where you're doing it enough, the cost of them is not that high. I was really blown away. I think we got one of those things, HD 360. It's like $150. It's not like it's over $1,000 camera or anything.
Yeah,
but you probably pull them up even cheaper at this point.
Now I know with Lead Propeller, first time I ever saw it, the cost of it, what is it? Is it $97 a month or $79?
No, it's $49 a month for a website.
Okay.
And then the professional is if you get 3 websites, and it's for $79 a month.
Okay, I got you. So 3 websites. Okay, yeah. Because I remember the first time I was looking at that, in preface here, like I am a cheapskate. Like I just am. It's probably hurt me many, many more times than I care to admit, but I just don't like spending money, and I don't like, signing up for subscriptions that cost me money on a monthly basis.
I'm the same way.
And so, I look at, I can build my own website through WordPress and pay, upwards of $100 a year for that kind of thing, and buy a theme and try to figure out how to use that and waste who knows how many hours trying to figure it out. But I'm just curious, for people out there who are thinking about, I want my website, I want it to look good, I don't want it to take a ton of time, but I also don't want to pay a monthly fee for that. What are some reasons that's worth considering? Like, how do you justify that kind of price?
Oh, it's super easy because when you can get a site and you can have it live literally within like 5 or 10 minutes, because all you're doing is putting your settings, like the name on the website, the phone number that people should be calling you, the business address if you have one, and your target city, and then it propagates that information across the website's content that's already optimized for search engines and for mobile devices. All that kind of stuff is already built for you, and it's live right away, so you can focus on getting traffic to it, using it in your marketing, putting it in your email signature line, and all that kind of stuff, and focus on what you do well instead of trying to figure out this whole thing about, websites, because it's not just getting a website. There's so many things involved with the years and years of tweaking and learning how things work, and what Google wants to see and what's going to make your website look better in their eyes, because that's what's important, right? Because Google wants to show the best result for the search. And, that's not just what content is on the website, but how the website is built and how fast it loads and all that kind of stuff. And so all of that knowledge is built into these, in addition to having the technology like the texting capabilities that happen so that you can speak to that seller first, which matters tremendously, because the goal of a website is not to have a website, right? Like the goal of the website is to get leads so you can get deals and profit from them. So that you can have the freedom to do the things that you want to do, and it's why you got in this business. And so I think spending the time to try to figure this out and save money by doing it yourself with a WordPress theme or something, you're still paying for hosting and a domain name. All that stuff is included with our stuff. And so really it's not even that much more per month, and it's just a no-brainer to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when I think about, for example, on my buying website, I mean, I don't know how long I've been running websites now. Like, I should know this stuff, but I just don't. Like, I'm just not that smart of a person to figure out all the technicalities and, like...
You've got other priorities, right? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff I'm juggling. I mean, I don't have time to be a web developer. I just want the thing to work.
Right.
And, I succeeded in saving money, I guess. But, man, like, what did my time cost? Like, what did I lose? What kind of things did I say no to because I wasted all that time trying to get this website, which frankly still is not perfect. I guess it serves its purpose and it does what I need it to do. But I don't know.
Well,
what's that?
Sorry to cut you off. I just was thinking, it's funny, whenever I go to conferences, if I go to anything where there's a big gathering of real estate investors and they find out that I run Lead Propeller, almost always the first thing that they talk about is our support, because of our phone support, because I made it a point to hire people that are technically savvy so that when you call, and the fact that you can even call with software these days is like...
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It's not just, a chat or something or emails. You can actually call. But 90 to 95% of things that you have people, like customers have questions about or anything, can be taken care of by the person that answers the phone. And it gets taken care of quickly and doesn't need to, so you can deal with whatever situation you might have and be on your way. Again, because it's all about like time for investors. Investors just don't want to have to figure things out and do all this stuff. And I don't know, that's why we exist.
Yeah, and really, I mean, if you've got a legitimate real estate investing business with any kind of monthly cash flow coming in, it's not that hard to cover that price. I mean, we're not talking about a fortune here on a monthly basis. So I am curious, do you know of any like SEO tricks? Are those things kind of like built into Lead Propeller? Or I know I've spent pretty sizable amounts of money on my buying website, for example, for SEO work, and it has worked for me. Like I get submissions every single day that are free, that I don't have to pay for direct mail. Granted, a lot of those are junk, and I don't end up doing anything with them, but they still come in. How does that work with Lead Propellers? Can people pay for more SEO, or is just stuff kind of come built into it?
Yeah, they can, and it's actually built into it. So but SEO encompasses several different aspects of the website. So the way the website is built and the different aspects under the cover, in the code, and what you have in your content all play a role in search engine optimization. And so we have all of that optimized pretty much as well as you can for a website. But that's only one part of the equation. It's a really big part of the equation. But the other part of the equation is having external factors showing, that your website is an authority. And that's the hardest part for a lot of people, and it's very time consuming to try to create content that other people will link to and all that kind of stuff, which is also like still how Google, for the most part, will give you a higher ranking is the more links and stuff like that to your website. So as far as tactics go, for that part of it, there's gray hat and black hat tactics, right? That people try to game Google and try to figure out, well, this trick works. Like if you do this thing, your website's going to shoot up because you tricked Google into thinking that yours was more of an authority by doing this thing. But the problem with doing that is that you can look all day long for SEO tips and secrets and stuff like that and black hat and gray hat stuff, but they're all tactics. And over the long haul, over the long term, those websites will never last. Mm-hmm. Like you might get a ranking up higher and it'll be very short-lived though, because now their algorithms update and they run their algorithms. It used to be pretty sporadic, but now they have the ones that run all the time. Yeah. And they can check all this stuff for when people are gaming their system, because that's how they stay at the top. Google stays at the top by making sure that their results are legitimate, good results, and not because someone gamed their search engine. Yeah. So they're constantly the smartest people working on that stuff. And so the thing that I do recommend, though, is the thing that Google wants you to do, and that's provide content. Mm-hmm. That shows that you're an authority in your local market for the topic of real estate and the situations that people face that lead to motivation to sell quickly. Yeah. That was a lot to say, but it boils down to blog posts about situations like inheriting a house, facing foreclosure, selling a house super fast, selling a house for cash, all those kind of things. We provide content packs people can buy that have all of those, and you can have those on your site to have fresh content all the time. Or you can hire people on Upwork to write those articles for you and have that content. But that's the way for long term to rank for a lot of keywords and a lot of high ranking positions and stay there is the important part, where Google is going to reward you for that and not punish you for it.
Yeah. With that content stuff, I mean, I know this world very well because I've been doing it for 5+ years. I know it's like, to do it well is super time consuming. Like it, again, like if you don't love it, you're going to go crazy because it just takes lots and lots of time. But it's, is there a point at which it's like, okay, I have enough content. I don't have to keep doing more of this stuff. Or is it like a ongoing battle you always have to fight?
You don't always have to do it, but when you consider that maybe your competitors have, just a handful of blog posts or no blog posts at all, it doesn't take much to do better than them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not just the number of pages of content, right? It's the actual content itself. Like 1,000-word blog post is going to do better than, a 200-word blog post. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That has a bunch of keywords in it and different things. And so, and related to this, I think if people don't understand how, I think most people probably do at this point understand how search engines work. But people search for a keyword, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're looking at your competitors online, you're likely typing in "sell my house fast," Michigan or wherever, Grand Rapids, or wherever you are, and looking at who's there. Well, you're only seeing the results and the rankings for that one keyword, right? And there's hundreds and even thousands of keywords that motivated sellers search for, probably even more than that. Mm-hmm. And so you're only looking at only one out of thousands, right? Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. And so at that point, it's really knowing which keywords are the ones that produce leads, that produce conversions, the ones that when people search those, they're much more likely to actually call you or submit the form, because it's been shown that when they search for that they're likely to be motivated sellers.
Yeah. Is there any quick or easy way that you know of to figure that out?
Nope.
A lot of split testing.
No, I'm just kidding. We actually put together, because we do, Lead Propeller also does, and you were asking, can they get help in SEO? We actually do managed SEO and PPC through AdWords and Bing Ads, and then Facebook marketing for real estate investors, some of the top ones across the country. Mm-hmm. And that is an additional cost for that service. But we do those things. And the benefit of having us do that for you is just all the experience across all these accounts of learning what works and what doesn't, and just like monitoring that so that you're always getting the best cost per lead, cost per deal. But what we've been able to do, and I think for AdWords alone, it's been well over, I think, $2 million in ad spend, right? That's been managed. And it's a ton of money, but that's a ton of testing. All of that is testing. All of that is actually using this. And so we pulled the top 50 keywords out of, what was producing the most conversions. And I can get access to, I can set it up where people can get access to that if you want.
Yeah, that'd be sweet, man.
All right.
Yeah, I wonder, have you ever gotten creative with keywords like,
I don't know how many people are searching for like, OMG, I hate my tenants or things like that. I mean,
I wonder if something like that would work.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like trying what works, and obviously probably not a lot of people, putting in OMG, but the other portion of it's kind of cool to look at because with AdWords with PPC, you can see which ones produce and what they actually search for, because you're not targeting exact match all the time. You're doing it more broad to catch things that you might not think of, but Google will say this is close enough to this one thing that you're targeting. And so when you go to look at the actual searches that were made, there's some really funny stuff. Like things like how to sell my house without my wife knowing.
Really? Wow.
This kind of stuff. And it's like, people search some weird stuff and just try to target some of those things. Obviously, they're not searched all that often, so it's.
Yeah, I've even noticed that on YouTube, which is owned by Google. Man, it is crazy how smart they are now. Like, I'll search for something, and the results that come up, like, most of them do not have the words that I put in the search bar when I search for it, but it's still what I'm looking for. So it's like, somehow it knows, and it can figure out what people are interested in and clicking on or watching.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, all the AI stuff that's going on, like the machine learning to see what, and they can track how long people went to the website, after searching that thing, and they went to that website, and they know what was on that website, how long they stayed. If it was a couple seconds and left, was it relevant?
I'm curious, and this is kind of a, beginner 101 kind of question, but when you think about like a buying website or a selling website, what are like the essential pages that must be on that website? Like, are we talking a home page, contact page? Do you need an about page? Like what should or you shouldn't you have on there?
Yeah, so obviously you got to have a home page, right? And then you most definitely should have either like an about us page or our company page. Because that's one of the most visited. I think that's the second most visited on all of our, besides the homepage, because people want to know who's behind the website, like who is this, and what are they about and all that kind of stuff. How does it work? So how it works, maybe page should be on there, or just have that as a section on your homepage. The other page, the contact us page, like that should be on all your pages. I don't think people need to look, for a contact us. And just having like some kind of email form with a message, I don't know that I get anything but spam from those anyway. So it's more just like have the forms and the phone number on all of your pages and not worry about a simple thing like that. The one thing that I think barely anybody's doing is having the area landing pages. So and we actually set this up where it's kind of automated, where you can get your homepage the way you want it, and then you can put in a list of target areas within your area, within your city. So within San Antonio, we have Alamo Heights, Balcones Heights, Leon Valley, Universal City, all these other places within what's known as San Antonio. And so you just put the list of all those, and it duplicates your homepage for all of those, but then changes out the San Antonio part with all those. So you can rank and show that you're an authority and you're focused on that specific area, very dialed down.
Yeah.
And the benefit of that is that, whenever we're focused on a real estate investor website, typically we're focused on one target city, right? It's much easier to rank the website for a city than it is for the entire country. And then when you add those pages also for the specific locations within that, it's even easier to rank for those specific ones.
Yeah.
And so I think having those pages is a must, at least for some of the bigger areas within the target city that you're focused on.
Yeah, man, that's a great idea. I can totally see why that would be relevant and probably help a lot with, search results and getting the ideal people to show up on your website.
Right. It's like hyper local and much easier to rank and beat the competition that they might have a high ranking website, but if they're not targeting specific areas, you can outrank them in those areas.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I know Lead Propeller's been around for, is it about 4 years now? Is that how long it's been a thing?
Yeah, for about 4 years.
Is there any new direction you guys are going to be going, or any new features, or?
Nope, it's perfect. Leaving it alone.
No, sweet.
No.
All right, move on.
Yeah, we are actually. We are always working at improving it, and we've been working a lot more on the tracking part of things. So as far as the marketing, having different phone numbers and different forms, depending on the different marketing channels that people use. And I talked about earlier direct mail and having that domain name that would then forward over. Well, making sure that when somebody shows up on your website from one of those channels and they go to all these different pages on your website, that phone number that tracks for you that marketing channel or that form is going to be with them the whole time that they do that.
Okay.
So that when they eventually call you or they submit the form, it was from that one marketing channel. Mm-hmm. So you can really dial in your marketing so much better. Mm-hmm. and getting into just, there's some really in-depth stuff that goes in with that we're working on that's going to be really cool, and I don't really want to talk about it just yet.
Yeah, sure.
But we've been really focused on our CRM system too, so things have slowed down a little bit for the improvement on Lead Propeller, but we plan to go, high gear into that again once we launch the CRM.
That's awesome. And the CRM will basically kind of work hand in hand with Lead Propeller if people are using both ends.
Yeah, and as well as other websites. You have other websites, like you will, be able to plug yours into there as well. And the CRM is actually the first thing that I ever really built as software for myself as an investor for our company. And, the whole software company actually was set up around the CRM, like building that. Mm-hmm. And it's been a passion of mine. And we did release REI Mobile several years ago, but I'm too much of a perfectionist and I wasn't real happy. Mm-hmm. We use it still in our company. But the way we built some of the things, we learned so much from that. That's kind of like our MVP, our minimum viable product. It was like our test thing that went out. Yeah. And a lot of investors still use it and love it. And we still use it and love it. Yeah. But, we found out, okay, well, it's hard to update some of this stuff and to improve upon it. Mm-hmm. And so we started over from scratch with our dream system. And that's what we've been working on for several years now. We're going to launch that. And it's like automation and a lot of team stuff built into it.
Yeah.
And just incredible.
I've actually heard that's a fairly common thing with software companies and websites that experience rapid growth is at some point they just have to erase it all and start from scratch because the place where they started is just so different from the place where they're at now or where they're going. It's it just needs to be rethought.
And technology changes and what you couldn't do before you can now do. Yeah, and CRMs are just a beast usually anyway because it's just all the things that they should be able to do. Mm-hmm. And so it's exciting. I can't wait to show everything that we've been working so much on. It's just been, oh man, it's been a lot. But it's gonna blow everybody away.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to learning more about that. Sounds really useful. So yeah, and I can't wait to see where Lead Propeller goes too. I know it's been really, really helpful for me, and I know a lot of other people out there as well. Yeah. Well, Danny, is there anything else you want to share if people want to learn more about you or what you got going on? Are there any websites they should check out? Or I know you've got a podcast too and a YouTube channel and your blog, and it seems like I can't believe how much stuff you're doing.
Yeah. Well, it's if you go to freedomdrivenllc.com, freedomdrivenllc.com. That'll list out those different things, the podcast and the software, the different things that we've got going on. So you can find out more there. I think I'd said that I would get something for the keywords. And for you, if I set up a website for that, like Seller, I could put it on sellerleadhacks.com/keywords.
Yeah. That'd be sweet.
And then people can go to that sellerleadhacks.keyword or .com/keywords, and that'll be those 50 keywords that produce the highest converting keywords out of all that all that data that we went through from over $2 million in AdWords. ad spend.
That'd be seriously helpful. I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate that. I'll be sure to link to that in the show notes for this episode as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, I really appreciate it, Danny. Appreciate your time and sitting down and chat with me.
Yeah.
If people do want to check out Lead Propeller, I've done a few different reviews on it. I've got some videos out there. They're a couple of years old now, but I think it's still mostly relevant.
Yeah.
But I've got I've got an affiliate relationship with them, so I'll include that affiliate link in the show notes as well. I believe it's retipster.com/Lead Propeller homepage. That's kind of a mouthful. I should probably change that, but so you can check that out. And also, if you want to get a 75% discount on your first month, be sure to use the promo code REtipster on checkout, and you can save some money in that first month. So, but again, Danny, appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
And we'll have to do this again sometime as
Yeah, for sure.
as
Enjoy it.
technology changes and as business changes, and it'll be interesting to hear how you're doing. And yeah, man. Well, I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next time.
Awesome. Have a good one.
You too. See ya.